Good after morning. I was kind of at a loss of what to do today because I was waiting for, the big fuses coming. Well, I haven't ordered them yet because I don't get paid yet. And then I had a brainwave. I had a box of wiring somewhere in the garage. So I hunted for that and I found this brand new 60 amp fuse. Big chunky number. So let's wire up some more gauges, shall we? Right, it's way too hot today to work outside in the sunshine, but as you can see, if the car was back here, it would be in the shade and it would be much nicer to work on. But it would also be better if the access into all the wiring was that side, but that means it's going to be tight, so I guess I'm just going to have to, turn the car around and drive it back and forwards. Completely justified. Right, let's see what we're doing. Now you're probably wondering why this door is still not attached. Partly so that I can get access easily for stuff, but honestly, building doors requires an element of finesse and engineering that I just don't possess. So I'm not looking forward to it. I know it has to be done at some point, but not today. Right, the plan for today then. I want to install my little triple gauge pod about there. It's got plenty of holes for screwing it in, either threaded inserts or self-tappers. It's not going to have a lot of weight on it, so I'm not too bothered. And eventually I'll probably remove it if I get a nice set of proper traditional old school gauges. But for now, this will do. So inside this we have the voltmeter, which is similar to everything else I've got with the chrome ring. And for today, the fuel gauge. However, fuel gauge has got a black ring. The only black ring of the family. I have a theory, however, which I'm going to share with you. I've got a feeling that underneath that black is actually chrome. Let's find out, shall we? Right, here's the plan. I'm going to rub it with some of this paint thinner. See what happens. Hey, at the very worst it will just be metal coloured, which is still better than black, I think. Put on my safety glasses. Don't want this stuff in my face. The moment of truth. Well, this might take a wee while actually. Let that seep in. Come on, do something. Okay, that's doing nothing. Let's move on to brake fluid. Hopefully I don't cause some horrible chemical reaction and blow the place up. Ah well, we'll find out. This might take a wee while to react. Let's leave that on there for a wee while. Right, you doing anything yet? No? Och, fail. Nothing at all. Well, good quality paint or whatever it was they used to make it black. Right, okay, that leaves only one alternative. Either, well, no, two alternatives. Leave it alone or paint it over. Is it really worth it? Yeah, why not? Let's paint it. While we're waiting for that paint to dry, let's go and install the gauge pod and my 60 amp fuse. Before I start, I'm going to disconnect both the terminals off the battery. Big positive, big negative. Okay, no chance of electrocution or explosion. Well, not today at least. Right, let me show you. This is my main feed going to the ignition, and then from the ignition another wire goes to the fuse panel. So I'm thinking the best place will be to put the fuse in between where the power is coming from the battery and going to the ignition. And then as long as the ignition is in the on position or the accessory position, everything beyond that will be fused back to this. So I need to decide where I'm going to mount this. I need it accessible, but I also don't want to be tripping over it. I can't think at the moment. No, that would be silly. Back shortly. Did a bit of tidying up. So all you can see at the moment is my main feed for the ignition and the fuse panel, eventually, and my main battery cable going to the starter. Now, never really liked it going up through that hole, which I still need to blank off, by the way, so don't panic, that's not going to be wide open and noisy. So I'm thinking I might route this round here with some, you know, fairly solid conduit over it so that it doesn't get squished by feet, and then I'll probably just drill a hole through here, and then the starter cable can basically have a nice short route to the starter rather than going away up and away back down again. So I'll do that just now. And also my 60 amp fuse, I think I'm going to install it right there. So feet shouldn't be anywhere near that, still accessible, and I can always put a cover over it if I feel that's required. So the wire coming from the battery after the big red switch will go up to here, go into the fuse, and then come out of the fuse and go up to the ignition. Right, let me throw that together. Right, big battery cable now goes through there instead of up and over. I remembered there's going to be quite a lot more wires coming up the centre from the back lights. If I add a trunk lock solenoid, anything else I can think of is all going to channel up here, so I need to get a fairly thick conduit to protect all of that, and then obviously there'll be carpet going over it, so it should be okay. I decided to mount this fuse up there just in case feet decided to move over that way and knock it, so that should be out the way as well. As I say, conduit over that and then carpet, so that should be fairly well protected. Right, I have mounted my little gauge pod, so now we can mount some gauges, but first let's make sure that that fuse doesn't blow when I try and start it. It shouldn't, but you know, I like to test as we go. So battery's reconnected, big red switch on, key, dummy light works, so I know it's wired up properly to this point. So I'll just turn it over and make sure that fuse doesn't go. Okay, we are good to proceed. What we start with. Ooh, let's see how the gauge is getting along, you know, the one we painted. Don't worry about the noise, neighbours burying a body or something, I don't know. Let's take this bit off very carefully. Get off. Not perfect, just needs a wee trim. Need my reading glasses for this job. Because you know I'm such a perfectionist. Yeah. If I don't do it now, I never will, and it'll bug me forever. I'll do it. There we go. Better than black, I think. Right, well, we might as well start with the fuel gauge, the one I just painted. Right, what am I putting in? Fuel gauge and volt gauge. Let's put the fuel gauge in this one. I'm not going to use that one just now because I've noticed that the key is going to be dangling down there, so that's going to annoy me, I think. So I'll leave that one for now. Fuel gauge, volt gauge. I've already got the wires on this gauge, so that's going to be pretty easy. I hope it fits. There we go. Still got the wee bracket to go in the back. Let me go and grab the volt gauge, see how that's going to look. Volt gauge is fairly simple. It just takes a positive feed off of anything really, and it will let me know if it's charging and what the current voltage is. So obviously not the same, not exactly the same silver, but better than black, I think, for this one. Right, let me wire them up. Fairly straightforward. Green one, as you know from previous videos, is my signal wire. Positive and negative for the fuel. And as I say, for the volt gauge, just a positive and negative. Pretty simple. Back in a sec. Gauges wired. Suppose we should test them out. Okay, voltmeter, perfect. 12 point. Let's see, what's that? 12.6. Fuel gauge showing empty. That's fairly normal for me, but I do need to adjust my float level because it's not empty. So what I'll probably do is fill the tank up at some point and then adjust it so that it's on the full. Temperature gauge, obviously that's not right. So I need to fit the sender that came with that. I just don't have the adapter brass thingy-majig to make that fit for now. So the only gauge left to wire up is actually the tack. Don't really need that at the moment, and it's fairly simple. There's the wiring there. I just can't be bothered. Fuse box is looking quite stuffed actually. What I've done, I've wired the voltmeter up to its own fuse. I've put in a 30 amp, and that's the only thing going to that fuse is the voltmeter. I just feel that the voltmeter has to get as clear a signal as possible, I think. Right, I suppose I better make sure it still starts, eh? Dummy light still works. not bad. It's actually pretty good. It starts without gas now, so the timing and the fueling must be okay. Well, it's tidy up time again. Need to tidy my bench, push it into that space, get the car back in for the day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm making this up as I go along. Bye bye.